All right, I'm done with the claw. The claw is garbage. I don't rate it. I don't like it. If you get the opportunity to use this one, ask someone else to show you how to use it because I clearly have no idea. Welcome back to My Cupcake Addiction. I'm Elise Strawn and today we are exploring more Russian piping tips because you guys loved the flower piping tips that I did and you also loved the ball Russian piping tips that I did. I'll leave links down below to those videos if you want to check them out. Today we're looking at Russian ruffle piping tips. They're long, they're pointy, they kind of have these weird little, I guess, splits in them, and honestly, just between you and I got no idea what these things do, but we're gonna find out together. Before we get started, I'm super excited to be featured alongside such names as Beyonce and places like Disneyland on Parade Magazine's The Best Parts. The best parts of My Cupcake Addiction, which let's face it, is almost everything. How are they gonna find the actual best parts? Pretty sure they're good at their job. Head on over to Parade, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see the best parts of all sorts of things, and go and check out the best parts of My Cupcake Addiction. Leave a comment down below and let them know you came from here. I'm sure they'd love to see you stop by. Back to the topic at hand, Russian piping tips. All right, I'm gonna start with 5 different colored frostings, and I'm not gonna use couplers. I'm just gonna snip the tip of disposable piping bags and throw in my piping tip, making sure that the entire side or the split in the piping tip is exposed, so my bag's not covering any of it. I'm gonna add a different color frosting into each of my bags, but a couple of them I'm gonna go a dual color frosting because sometimes in my experience, these tips look better with more than one color per individual bag. We'll do a little pink and blue and a little pink and green. Our number 1 piping tip, and I'm not even gonna try to name these because I'll come up with awesome names like weird looking arrow with kind of a crook thing at the bottom of it, which is not gonna be its technical term. So this is our first piping tip. So for this one here, what you wanna do is you wanna position that long split in the side of the piping tip, and I find it easiest to kind of put this alongside the seam of the bag. Position it so that it's basically parallel or laying directly on top of the cupcake with the frosting pointing straight down to the cupcake. I'm just gonna flick my wrist really gently backwards and forwards as I squeeze with an even pressure. And I love this one because if you wanted to make like a little tutu or ballerina dress of some sort, it actually finishes off both the outer edge and the inside waist edge at the same time as you're piping. I'm gonna do 2 layers of this purple frosting. This is actually a really cute little ruffle, really simple and pretty easy to achieve. Let's finish that one off with a teeny tiny little printable ballerina top so you can really get the full little tutu kind of image here. So if the last one was gonna be known as weird arrow shape with like the hook at the bottom of it, this is just weird arrow shape. Technical terms. For this guy, again, I'm gonna position this split directly down on top of my cupcake and I'm just gonna squeeze. This is so fine that you actually don't even really need to wiggle your wrist back and forwards for that little ruffle effect to essentially be seen. It finishes the middle really nicely, but I found that I ended up with a bit of a hole in the center. So this really is, I don't know, it kind of looks like the collar of a clown. So I'm gonna stick an emoji gumball in the middle. I don't think this would look as nice in double and triple layers because that center section is so thick. I think that this is a single layer ruffle tip. Number 3 is kind of a short pointy arrow, and this is the one that I've gone with both the pink and green together in. So instead of laying this alongside the cupcake, I'm actually gonna stab it straight down so it's almost in the cupcake, but not quite. And then I'm just gonna twist my wrist back and forward, back and forward. You can kind of pick up the piping bag and reattach and continue, or you can just sort of walk it across the top of the cupcake, back and forward and back and forward. I like this with the double colors. I almost think the pink looked like flowers and the green looked like little bits of greenery or leaves underneath. And all in all, this is actually a really quick way to achieve a really pretty delicate floral effect on top of your cupcakes. This guy is the wiggle tip, because it kind of just looks like a wiggle. So the wiggle tip, I've got pink and blue in, and I'm gonna try a couple of different techniques with this. The first one, I am gonna lay the tip down parallel to that cupcake again with the frosting pointing down, And I'm just going to kind of let the frosting fall out like we did with our yellow clown emoji guy. The frosting here falls out really nice and fine, and it gets almost like a little bit of a natural ruffle to it, but nowhere near as together and tight as that emoji ruffle. I'm gonna do a second layer on top of the first layer. I actually think either looks really nice, and I feel like this would be really cute with more than 2 colors for a rainbow tie-dye cupcake. All right, because I want to experiment with this guy a little bit, I think it could be my favorite. I'm gonna take another cupcake and I'm gonna use a similar technique to what we just used on the pink and green. So I'm gonna stab in that piping tip almost into the cupcake, and I'm just gonna go back and forward in small sections, kind of allowing a fair bit of frosting to come out so that as I go back, I'm creating these little sections of ruffle all over the top of the cupcake that eventually join together to completely cover it. This in the pink and blue, I love. This is actually better than the last one we did with this tip. I think these guys both look great, but from the same tip, just holding it a different way, we've got 2 very different results that equally have a place somewhere in my cupcake decorating. Number 5, I'm gonna go with green, and this is very similar to that last piping tip, except that the wiggly bit is much thinner and much finer, so I'm guessing we're gonna get a much thinner, finer ruffle. Again, just laying it down parallel with the cupcake so the frosting falls directly down onto the cupcake, and I'm just gonna let it fall because again, this is thin enough and fine enough that just the pressure of the frosting being squeezed out and falling on the cupcake actually gives it this really nice ripple all of its own. I'm gonna do not 1, not 2, but 3 layers on top of this cupcake, and I feel like this has got such a tutu-like look to it. This is actually gonna be Tinkerbell's skirt. Tink, I made you delicious. This one, I'm gonna call it the claw, because it kind of looks like a claw and I have absolutely no idea what to do with it. I've done some practices, I have no idea what it's for. I don't even know why they included it, and if anyone has more information on that, please let me know. All right, first up, I'm gonna try pushing it in and kind of twisting side to side. And that looks terrible. All right, so now I'm gonna try a little bit more with like the grand sweeps. Nope, that looks terrible. So I did a little trial on some paper towel, and it almost looked like it was supposed to leave like 2 lines of ruffle with like a center spot. Kind of looks a bit like a brain. No, it either looks like a really ugly brain or just really ugly frosting. All right, I'm done with the claw. The claw is garbage. I don't rate it, I don't like it. If you get the opportunity to use this one, ask someone else to show you how to use it, because I clearly have no idea. It just seems impractical. I couldn't get it to work, and it's the first piping tip I've ever picked up that just didn't have some kind of a common use. If you've had luck with the claw, let me know. No luck with the claw. If I could evict one piping tip, I'm gonna evict the claw, and then in a very close second, I'm probably gonna get rid of the weird arrow with the hook. Didn't really like it. Finally, I have my zigzaggy, kind of shark tooth looking piping tip. So for this guy, I'm gonna start again just parallel to the top of the cupcake and really using my wrist to go kind of up and down or just slightly back and forward while turning the cupcake to create this big kind of a ruffled skirt. This one's actually much cooler because it's got all the texture caused by those teeth, so it makes it look, I don't know, just a lot more kind of flamenco dancery if we were looking for the right term for the bottom of someone's dress. I'm gonna do a couple of layers here, but when I get to the very top so I don't see that hole in the middle, I'm just gonna sort of push in the point and twist it back and forward and hope that when I pull it out, oh yeah, I actually don't think that looks too bad. All right, now another trick I wanna try with this to give it a ton of height without being entirely frosting is to take my cupcake and again, just resting that piping tip parallel, making my first line. But then I'm gonna take a nice strawberry, trim the base off it and stick it under the frosting. This is gonna give us kind of like the base for a really nice skirt if you wanted to make a princess cupcake, but without having just a solid lump of frosting. Not that there's anything wrong with a solid lump of frosting. This actually turned out quite cute, and I'm gonna turn this one into Princess Elsa. Because what else are you gonna do with a cupcake with a strawberry inside in winter blue that kind of looks like a princess dress? You're gonna Elsa it. Makes sense. That's it. 7 different styles that you can do with 6, because I hate the claw, different Russian piping tips. So, how do we feel about Russian piping tips? On the whole, I really like the ruffles. I found some great techniques, a little similar some of them, but I found that throughout all of the Russian piping tip videos that I've made. Make sure you check out my flower piping tips if you guys want to check out how to make these one squeeze flowers. And make sure you check out my Russian bowl piping tips video if you want to see how I use these weird bowl piping tips to make all kinds of crazy designs. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know your thoughts down below. And if you guys see anything else online that you want me to buy and try, let me know. Happy to. Have an awesome day, you guys. Thanks very much for watching.